Round 5 saw the races at Motorsport, and once again it was the 6, 7, 5 cars that had dominated qualifying, but only one of them was on the front row for the start. A crash in warm-up left the number 20 car starting from the pit lane, and caught Wagner crashing out at turn 4, brought out the yellow flags and the safety car for the first time. And they were back out again when Oliver Gavin made an uncharacteristic mistake bending the Corvette. The Intersport team had been making their way up through the field, but hit problems with the car in pit lane. The 16 car hit problems, and JJ Leto managed to get past the Audi, and Frank Bieler still kept the Erst R8 in contention, despite some damage to the bodywork that was sustained when he was hit by another car at the restart. The Dyson team was still struggling with electrical problems in the 16 car and had to replace the battery. In the GT class, the 24 Alex Joe Porsche of Jörg Bergmeister and Timo Bernhard were upholding the team's honour after the sister car of Lucas Law and Sascha Massen hit problems with a threaded wheel nut in the pits that lost them a lot of time and put them down the order. And there was drama too when the Conrad Saleen had an off-road moment at turn 2. And hitting problems was exactly what happened to Olivier Beretta shortly after he exited the pits in the Paynos. Canada's own Ron Fellows had been pushing hard and took over the GTS lead in the distinctive Corvette, but the Ferraris were not making it easy for him. A collision saw the front right suspension broken on the champion Audi, and that paved the way to a steady drive to the finish flag for Marco Werner. After 2 rounds in Canada, the American Le Mans Series now continues its tour of the States, arriving for the 6th round at Road America in Wisconsin. Then it's back to California and Laguna Seca before the series heads back south, firstly to the streets again in Miami, and finally to Road Atlanta for the Petit Le Mans. With 4 rounds to go, the championship's getting a little tense now, but the advantage is still with the number 1 car, and its drivers will be concentrating on finishes now to ensure that they get the points. It was a 1-2 victory here at the Road America circuit last year, and that's the intention of the Alex Job team this year also, with the twin immaculate yellow and white Porsches once again dominating the class qualifying, with Jörg Bergmeister in the 24 car just a fraction of a second slower than Lucas Law in the 23 car, who posted pole for the Florida-based team. In the GTS class, it was the Swiss-based Care Racing Ferraris that were chasing for pace. The ProDrive built bright red 550 Maranellos were 3 and 4 in the final qualifying order. Jan Magnussen lists Road America as one of his favourite circuits in the world, and along with David Brabham, drove here last year in the Paynos when the American Le Mans Series made its debut here. Peter Cox and Thomas Enger were the faster of the 2 cars on their first ever visit to the circuit, but they could not improve on 3rd place, where the Ferraris were expected to be suited to the characteristics of the 4 miles of tarmac. Ron Fellows set the qualifying record here last year, and this year he broke his previous best effort in the Corvette C5R when he set the second fastest time. The CompuWare team expect a strong challenge here and have been working hard on setup in all facets of the car, and the effort paid off with Oliver Gavin clinching pole for the 4th time this year and shaving 2 seconds off the qualifying record.
The car performed fantastically in qualifying today. A little bit of a lock-up and a flat spot on my left front going into turn 5, which will have to change for the race tomorrow, but you are allowed to do that. I had Ron in front of me, so he was sort of pulling me along a little bit. It was a little bit of a lure. So everything said, I'm very pleased to be on pole position today. It was a tough one, but a great one.
David Salens and Olivia Beretta continued to share the seat in the number 10 panels, with the Belgian driver setting 6th fastest overall, but 3rd fastest in the 900 class. The Dyson 675s were on top form again, and Chris Dyson was in charge of the 20 car for the qualifying session and took it ahead of the panels to 5th overall and to be 3rd in the 675 class. Dyson and Andy Wallace finished a remarkable 2nd at Motorsport after starting from the pit lane and hoping not to have to work so hard this time out. Problems beset the Intersport 675 at Motorsport, but at Road America, the team had the car in flying form, and John Field took the Lola chassis to 4th overall and 2nd in class for the 675s. Johnny Herbert piloted the customer Audi R8 in qualifying, and on the 4th of the 6 flying laps he completed, set his fastest time, which was to be just over 0.2 of a second off the pole time at a Row 2 start.
The energy is always something that at the moment with James, it just seems to throw spanners in the works, but for the race, the big thing is we've got a very, very good race car. I think it's the best race car I think I've had since being at Champions. So I think that's going to play very, very well for us, and I think we're going to be very, very strong. I think hard to beat.
Yet again, the blue and white 16 car is on the front row of the grid and topping the 675s after putting in some blistering times, and the pace that they were showing even surprised the unflappable James Weaver, who has a very personal mission to beat the Audis at any time and extract a great deal of pleasure from it. But this time, he couldn't achieve the pole.
It was tremendously exciting. We thought if you could get down to about 53 flat, that'd be good enough for pole. And the Audi boys laid down the gauntlet, I think, at 52.7 or 8. And we got down to 52.4. They did 52.2, so it was a pretty steamy qualifying session, I have to say.
And applying the heat was Marco Werner, who in his first season in the series has really settled into the car and putting in some stunning performances. And once again, it's the Infineon Yerst Audi that proves to be the strongest and is on pole and denying the Dyson team a 2nd consecutive pole.
And push very hard. The cars was good, the tires also, thanks to Michelin and to my team. And that was a couple of laps without the mistakes, and this is important. Another pole, that's important for us.
4 wins this year for the German duo and 3 in a row over the last races, but they're really having to work hard for success this year and can't afford to relax at all. This is one of the reasons why everyone enjoys the American Le Mans series. Yes, the relaxed atmosphere. Sometimes it's hard to believe that the teams and drivers are about to sweat and strain in fierce competition, and in these temperatures, sweat they certainly do.
I think it would be nice a little bit for us if it is a little bit colder, but the weather is nice, so it's quite a big crowd here, so it's good for the fans.
And a lot of effort is made to enhance the enjoyment for the fans and the drivers also, who are all really enjoying being at the circuit, including JML Paynard's driver Olivia Beretta, who'll be driving the 2nd stint today.
It's a very, very nice track here. It's very fast, big straight line, fast corner going down the hill. I mean, it's a great, great track. I think it's one of the best that I have seen in US. But the car was doing well. We have a little problem on the first day, so we didn't run a lot. But that is racing. I mean, we have a strong car, I think, for the race. We have to see what the Audi and the Adder will do. Of course, they will be strong and fast like usual. But I think we can, if there is some yellow and depend, I think I'm quite confident. But on the sprint race, we have to push.
2.5 hours of pushing it will be, in fact, over the 4.048 mile circuit here. It is at this point now that the sun-baked smiles and relaxed postures fade away, the change into race faces of stern, preparative concentration, and the drivers make their final preparations and are strapped in tightly, ready for the rolling start. Marco Werner will start from pole then very shortly as round 6 continues. On the formation lap now, as the drivers bring the cars up to temperature, ready for the green flag that will see them immense battle. And unbelievably, the 20 car is going to have to start from the back of the grid, as their car would not start when we rolled off on the formation lap. So, unbelievable bad luck for them. And this then is the grid order, but of course without the 20 car that should have been starting from the 5th place or the 3rd row. Going to be an interesting battle in the GTS class as well. You can see how close the cars are. They're all together, 2 Corvettes and the 2 Ferraris, and the start is going to be critical. Marco Werner needs to get the jump on Butch Leitzinger if he can, but it's not going to happen. They get the green flag, and already that lovely little Dyson Lola starts to inch away. The difference in the weight of the cars just allows him to pull away quite considerably as they go into turn 1, and Werner is in 2nd place. Johnny Herbert taking the start this time is in 3rd. And then we've got David Seelens, who's moved up in the Paynolds, Gunnar Jeanette, and then Jeff Bucknam in 6th place as we go on board with Ron Fellows 2nd in the GTS class. Oliver Gavin ahead of him there in the number 4 car, and he's got 2 bright red raging Ferraris behind him in this number 3 CompuAir Corvette. These wonderful cars. Oliver Gavin's got a brand new chassis this weekend because he had so many repairs to make from the crash at the 2nd round in Canada, and it's essentially the chassis they used at Le Mans this year that they've not really had much time to do any work on. There's the 20 car already passing a couple of the rear field cars, and what do this team have to do? They just had so much bad luck. But Chris Dyson will start to carve his way through the field instantly as he comes alongside one of the JMB cars, the JMB USA team's 360 Modelers, and now the Porsches come under attack from his accelerator, and 2 places made up very quickly indeed. A moment there as he went into the corner. All the cars will be getting up to temperature, of course, on this opening lap, and a busy one it is for Chris Dyson inside that car. The MG, the advanced AER MG engine beside that has been going so well as they come up now this quite steep rise that takes them up onto the start-finish line. So quite a lot of work he has done as we see the race leaders now, and it is the sister car, the 16 car that leads. Butch Leitzinger has kept it in contention as they continue on another lap. Marco Werner behind, JJ Leto, and still David Seelens in the Paynolds LMP01 in 4th place. Gunnar Jeanette in the 2nd Paynolds in 5th, and then the Pilbeam of Jeff Buckman, who is currently 2nd in the 675 class. They had a great qualifying. On-board picture now from the Alex Job team. We're on board the 23 car, Lucas Law, who's second in the GT, and as his teammate goes off and goes wide, and Lucas Law takes the lead after Jörg Bergmeister had a problem. And look at this, Bergmeister has got a problem in that car, definitely. That car's all over the place and it's going along like a crab, and that has to be broken suspension. Well, they were passing each other on the track, and then something went desperately wrong as he makes it to the pits. So look at the replay, and something is not right with the back of that car, because all of a sudden it just snaps away. Just sends him off the other direction, and he hits the grass and bounces back over. So he's on his way to the pits, and oh, here's an incident for the number 16 car. He gets caught up. Butch Leitzinger with Alexander in the 28 car has got caught up going into that. That's hopefully we'll find out a little bit more about that incident. But through they go in the traffic. We're on board with Johnny Herbert, who's about to pass and has passed the 16 car, and through goes David Salins as well, or trying to anyway. No, Butch Leitzinger just holds him off there, and behind Johnny Herbert looking for a way through. Had a good burst of speed there, so that car seems to be perfectly okay. It's not slowed down any, and no damage to the front of that car, and it was the number 28 car that lost out on that. But we are hearing that there is going to be a stop-and-go penalty awarded against the number 16 car for unnecessary contact. Interesting situation. Meanwhile, Marco Werner is leading this race. It's exactly what he wanted. Johnny Herbert on board with him now as he carves his way past the GT car and then comes up behind one of the Ferrari 360 Moderners. There's Marco Werner, the race leader. There's Johnny Herbert, who's second. Behind him, he has got Butch Leitzinger and David Salins. It was a two-way attack then, trying to fight for position. And Johnny Herbert protected himself nicely. And Butch Leitzinger under attack from David Salins, and his charge as he comes up behind a Viper was momentarily halted by having to drive defensively. But look at David Salins in that Panos. The Belgian driver is just simply stunning. Over the last few races, he's really gone into that car, and he's harrying the 675 car for position. Doesn't make it there, but they've touched this time, and into the wall goes the 16 car, very heavily indeed.
I bet the wall very hard out of the race.
Well, already knowing that that was going to be the end of it. And unbelievably, the end of the race for the 16 car yet again. They have such a brilliant time in practice and qualifying, and the races have just gone against them. As Butch Leitzinger gets out of the car and goes over the wall for safety. Here's a replay then, and David Salins just caught the back of that 16 car, which, well, very close indeed. Hard to say what actually went on there. Maybe he braked a little bit too early, and David Salins didn't seem to have very far that he could go to, as using all the curb on his way up to clock off another lap is Marco Werner, who's now leading. Of course, we've got Johnny Herbert in second place, and David Salins will now be up to third in the Panos LMP01, and we will make it that the Jeff Bucknam car would be leading the 675s. That would make sense because they were in second before, so number 56 now is leading the 675 class as we look at Marco Werner. And all of a sudden it's just played out into their hands. Just over the rise was coming Johnny Herbert, and he'll be wanting to close down that gap as quickly as he can. Yellow flag and a white flag out, so warning of a vehicle, a recovery vehicle on the course, so no passing in those areas, although they get a green flag there, so they can do on this part of the circuit, as Marco Werner now just tries to bang in some laps as we look at number 37. In fact, it's John Field now that's leading the 675 class. He's come up in that Intersport Lola, another AERMG powered car that is still being leased from Hugh Chamberlain, who's also at the circuit this weekend to have a look. but provided a lot of that car so that the Intersport team can carry on after crashing out at the Infineon Raceway. What seems like ages ago now, but was 2 or 3 rounds back, and hoping for better luck this time. They had awful struggles last time out. And here's a replay of the number 17 car. Tom Wickard runs wide and gets it into the gravel, and the Dodge Viper seemingly beached, being pulled out of the way by the marshals and the corner workers who do such a great job.
With our aero package, we have to trim the car out quite a bit. That makes us brake a lot earlier than I think maybe the Panos does. And I know with the Audi, I was losing a lot of time to him under braking at 5. And he was tucked up under my wing, and I think he just didn't think I was going to brake as early as I had to there. And just gave me a nudge there and sent me into the wall. I mean, I'm sure he didn't mean to do it, but no, it's definitely a big disappointment for the team.
So that kind of explains what happened in both of those incidents we saw. As into the pits comes John Field. He's getting out. Duncan Dayton is the driver getting in. And here's a replay. Oh, they've been off the roads. John Field has had a little excursion in the gravel trap at, I think that's turn 12. As we come back to Marco Werner. And just needs to keep it going like this, keep it out of trouble. Keep it nice and neat. He has got the champion Audi very close behind him. They'll be just watching and waiting to see what happens. We don't know quite what strategy. We don't quite know who's gone through the gravel, except it's the Panos. It's the Panos of David Salins that's in 3rd place. I think he still is in 3rd place, but he's run wide and got that horrendously wrong. And look at the gravel that just comes out of the front of the splitter when he applies the brakes. And that's going to make, of course, a little bit slippy for the others as we come on board now with number 43, Peter Barron, who passes the 35 Rizzi Competizione Ferrari 360 Modena, Ralph Kellners, who's been having some good drives lately. Peter Barron sharing that Yes Orbit Racing car with Mark Lieb, and in for a stop and go is David Salins, and this is due to the incident with the 16 car. So he's got a stop and go. And also a minute penalty as well, so that's quite a severe penalty, and the stewards have obviously judged that to be against him, which is quite interesting when you take on board what Butch Leitzinger was saying. But in the meantime, though, back with Marco Werner in the Infineon Audi R8, a customer Audi this year. It's not a factory back. They had 2 last year. This year they've got 1, and such a successful team. And the drivers leading the championship as they come up behind that Viper, the 17 Viper that we saw going into the gravel earlier on. They've got that out, and it was allowed to continue. A lot of emphasis is put on keeping these cars going, getting them back on the track when there's problems. And the rules and the officials are able to work in such a way that they can get them back out and get them back on as long as they're all in one piece as quickly as possible, which is, of course, good for the race and good for the masses of spectators that are just building up with these rounds of the American Le Mans as they continue on through the years. Into the pit lane comes David Salins, and a little bit of damage to the front of that car. That was be quite a hefty incident as it went through the gravel there, and of course we had the contact problem as well. And we look to the right-hand side, you can see the headlights cracked down, a bit of damage to the splitter as well. The team don't look as if they're going to replace that, but Olivia Beretta is getting in now. David Salins just, well, you know, we get a good view of the front of that, and that will make a little bit of difference to the aerodynamics at the front. The splitter fins don't seem to be too damaged. Those little fins you saw alongside the headlights have just helped to give a little bit more downforce. As we look at number 20 now, who's been continuing on. Chris Dyson's just been pushing away, and he's actually now up and leading the 675 class. He's got past the 56 car, which was in second. Currently circulating second in the GTS class, Ron Fellows in the Corvette C5R, as in the pits now, who was the GTS leader, hands over to teammate Jan Magnussen, who's now leading on the track in the 80 car. Peter Cox, though, in for fuel, so too Johnny Herberts, and that was just fuel only, I think. I didn't see them change any tyres on that car. And there's problems for the number 1 car. The 38 car has just gone out into the lead. There he is now. And the number 1 car has got some sort of problem. That car won't start. They're rocking it around. It tends to suggest then either gear selection or more likely maybe the starter motor. It's quite extreme temperatures here. Maybe they have got a problem, and it's not very often we see a mechanical problem for this car. Meanwhile now in the pits, the number 3 car of Ron Fellows comes in, and he gets out, changing over then to Johnny O'Connell, David Brabham, the number 80 car, the GTS leader now. So in gets Johnny O'Connell, straps himself in, and plugs into the comms. The team, in the meantime, refueling that car. New tyres to go on, and they'll be checking the grille on the front to make sure that the debris is clear, which could possibly stop the car ventilating so well and the cooling being so perfect. Steering wheel slots on now, and he just has to wait now for them to complete that changeover as well for Chris Dyson. Andy Wallace, who's going in, and Andy Wallace has been racing so much over the last couple of months. He's been driving in a European Championship as well as the American Le Mans, so he's been crossing the Atlantic. Frank Bieler is now inside the Audi that has got starter motor problems, and they are changing that.
It's a starter problem. The engine is not running. Now we are 7 laps behind, but we are running. It's important. We are running for every point. It's maybe we lose the championship here. Let's think about that. And I'm very down. It was a very, very good stint. The car was perfect, very good. On tires was very, very good. And I mean, I was very good in traffic. It was a perfect stint. And then the problem in the pits. That's racing.
Problems for the number 4 car continue. Kelly Collins has gone into the gravel at turn 14. It's a busy turn today in the race-wise, so yellow flags out. And it is in fact a full course yellow. And finally the number 1 car exit the pits, and believe it or not now, 6th in the 900 class and 30th overall is Frank Bieler. As Kelly Collins gets back onto the circuit, all that dust starts to blow away from the Corvette, but very slowly away. And very gingerly off there, continues on. See, that car's okay, and they'll be off after the Ferraris again.
Couldn't get by Peter. I was a little bit faster, but in all the wrong places. So there's no sense in taking a big risk and taking our supposed off. So, but the car's running well. Well, it's far from over, but I think so far it's looking really good.
Johnny Herbert in the pits. He's getting out of the car, new tyres going on, the fuel's already gone in, and JJ Leto will be getting in there in a moment. Meanwhile, David Brabham, he is the GTS leader, and that ProDrive Ferrari looking absolutely superb here.
The pit stop was good for us, no problem. Obviously, Joost had a bit of bad luck, but obviously it's a bit of fortune for us, which is good after what's happened in the last couple. So we're confident, but there's a long way to go yet. The concentration still got to be there.
Franz Conrad in the Conrad Motorsport Celine S7R. Started actually 16th overall on the grid, 6th in the GTS class, and has been campaigning with the Celines now for a couple of years. Franz Conrad used to be an avid Porsche man, as now the Paynos in the pits for a changeover from Olivia Beretta to David Salins. So those drivers changing back again and taking a little time to get in there. The team working on the car, and Olivia Beretta just giving the thumbs up to the Michelin tyre engineers, so very happy with those tyres it seems. Olivia, who actually tests tyres for the BMW Williams Formula 1 team. The change is still going on there, and there's Andy Wallace, 675 leader, and coming up pretty high on the overall leaderboard as well now. as they continue on, and they started from the back of the grid, but they've just kept in contention and pushed away again.
I push very hard. The problem is that we have some stone under the cockpit, and sometimes the throttle became locked. So we just have to check on the straight line that the throttle went normal. But we spoke with the crew, and they didn't know. The only question mark is to control the stone, but that we cannot do anything. But the car is quick.
Well, in the GT class, there's Johnny Molan, who's leading in the Pedersen Porsche 911 GT3 RS. And they're going to be, we're expecting them to have to pit again. And at the moment, on the way for a win with the problems that have beset the Alex Job team, which we saw earlier. And Sasha Masson currently circulating down the order, who's stuck in 5th gear. But the Pedersen team have not won an American Le Mans race since the round at Laguna Seca 2 years ago. So fingers crossed they'll have everything crossed at the moment. The 79 car behind them. As we go on board now with JJ Leto, who's our race leader, comes up behind the number 2 Celine, a couple of Porsches ahead. And that's one of the Alex Job cars that we can see there as he comes up and now has to make his way through the traffic. The great view, the wonderful blue skies here today, and now just boots it to come alongside and pass the Celine, and he should get, I was going to say get one of the Porsches, but he doesn't. And continues to work all along the time. A few leaves on the circuit as well from the trees alongside, and you can see the black rubber marbles on the sides of the track when they go offline, and that's what they try to avoid, because the very high temperatures of the slicks just act like a magnet and just pick all the bits up, and then causes vibrations. They lose the ability to drive those cars as well, and so they clean up a little bit. And now we'll clear this, no problem at all, as he uses the power and gets up over the top, and the 3,600 cc's of pure Audi power being unleashed through those magnesium rims and onto those black sticky bits of rubber. And JJ Leto having a great drive this year with Johnny Herbert, and if they can take the win, then it will be the second one, and more importantly championship points as well. That's what they're chasing after, although Johnny Herbert can't do anything about beating JJ Leto in the championship, because Johnny Herbert spent the first round of this year driving for Bentley, and the way things go, JJ Leto already has more points than Johnny Herbert, and JJ is always very quick and very keen to remind Johnny of that, but he can't be built in, and hence all the jibes and the jokes earlier on in the year that Johnny Herbert was the number 2 driver to JJ and was there to make life a little bit easier for him. On he goes, and he's got a good clear track at the minute, so he can get some good laps in. And the Dyson car is currently in 2nd place. The Infineon Audi is coming up through the field, because they were down to 6th in class and 30th when they finally got going again. It's still a considerable way behind and a lot of work to do, but Andy Wallace in 2nd place, we have it then, and 1st overall in the 675 class. So that will be good news to them after the disappointment of having to start from the back of the grid, but worked really hard and ended up in a really good position, and they've been helped by the problems that have beset the others as well. As we look at JJ from the air now, from the helicopter, and you get to see how wonderful this circuit is. It is just adored by everybody, and it seems the first time people come, they are just so delighted with it that they always look forward to it going back, and 2nd year for the American Le Mans here. Just quite a lonely race at the minute for JJ, who really just has to be consistent. He doesn't have very much pressure, because this car, in fact, is quite some way behind. That's the 2nd car in the GT class. Spencer Pompelli in the hazardous Porsche 911 in 2nd place, and Kurt Wagner behind him in the Gracers Group Porsche. Kurt Wagner, the 1999 American Le Mans champion. Although he didn't feel much of a champion at the last round when he crashed out fairly early on in the race, but we'll forgive him for that, chipping away. And these cars, of course, taking advantage of the fact that the Alex Job cars are not doing very well at all. And we have the Alex Job car with Sasha Masson currently in 4th place at the moment. So these two are finding it out for 2nd and 3rd place. Johnny Molan in the 31 car, just a little bit ahead of them, as these two continue on the way in a battle for 2nd place, though. Spencer Pumpelly comes in to shot still in 2nd place in the GT class. Kurt Wagner behind him in the Racers Group car, orange car versus blue car. These GT3 RS cars made by, of course, Porsche. They've made in the region, well over 1,000 of these special racing cars, the versions of these cars, which are very competitive in quite a few championships around the world, and of course one-make championships as well. But here in the GT class, they still have the legs over the Ferrari 360 Modnas, which can also run in the category. And the Ferrari's getting better, but not quite good enough at the moment. Kurt Wagner just staying close to the back of the 33 car, just waiting for a chance to get past him now as they get underneath the bridge and out the other side. And Spencer Pumpelly just picking up a bit of dust there as round comes the Audi. And I think that Pumpelly just caught the side of the Audi in his mirrors, and that's just what momentarily lost him, that little inch or so of track that just put him over. But now through is Frank Bieler, who's passed those two cars, and Frank Bieler up to 3rd place now, so he has been working very hard indeed. As the 31 car comes in, we think that this probably will just be a splash and dash. They'll just be in for fuel, and we expect to see Johnny Molan just stay in that car. He pulls into the Pedersen pit. Oh, there is tyres coming over though, and fuel going in first. The windscreen can be wiped. No other work can be commenced until the refueling has stopped. You see the smoke coming up on the left-hand side from the front as the brakes. So hot. So tyres going on, all 4 tyres going on. We'll wait and see how that's going to change the order in the GT class, because these two currently were 2nd and 3rd. Presumably will be moving up a position now, but we'll have to wait and see how the pit stops plan out with this one. Still 2nd and 3rd in class at the moment. You can see that from the lights on the outside of the cars. There's 3 diagonal lights on the blue car that indicates where they are in their class. The 33 car should be sporting 2 lights. That will reset as they come round the pits, unless our former race leader has gone out, but into the pits, in fact, peels off the number 33 car. On board with him inside the footwell. Pit lane limiter on, have to restrict themselves to 60 kilometers an hour, which is painfully slow when you've been lapping consistently at such high speeds. And this great wide pit road here at Road America as prepares to pull into the hazardous pit. Still trundling along. Wait to see what will happen for the car this time. Will it just be splash and dash? No tyres on the wall, and the fuel hose goes in now. Twin hoses, one allows the fuel in, the other allows the air out. As we see Johnny O'Connell 4th overall and leading the GTS class as he gets passed by, of course, the race leader and 900 leader, JJ Leto. So Johnny O'Connell has been keeping it consistent, although the number 80 car of Jan Magnussen, well, there he is right on cue. You were saying was probably about 3.5 seconds behind Johnny O'Connell, and the chase is on. And the chase is on in the GT class And the chase is on also in the GTS class between number 3 and number 80. And Jan Magnussen inside that car now is seeing the yellow and black of the Corvette and seeing a possible race win. They started driving late into the season here and have settled into the Ferrari. They drove the Palos last year and then were taken on by Ferrari to drive for them this year. If I remember correctly, from the 3rd round of the series, I think it was. And settled down, have got to grips with this car and are getting faster and faster all the time. And now Jan Magnussen will be calling upon everything he's got to try and close that gap to Johnny O'Connell and then get past him. And Johnny O'Connell in the same position he was last time out, as we see the 675 car of number 18, Jason Workman, who's been in for a penalty, or is in for a penalty now, stop and go, for speeding in the pit lane before the Lola Nissan are back out onto the circuit now. And that car is 2nd in the 675 class, so they'll be delighted if they can finish that way. And the 37 car of John Field, who's 4th in the 675 class, 29th overall. They've had a few more problems, and that's another problem for them now as well. So lost a lot of time there. And hopefully no damage to the car. That's the last thing they want at all. But John Field having a little moment there. He won't be too pleased about that, as we see Johnny O'Connell alongside and passing the 17 Viper, and he will really need to get through the traffic. There's the olive green Ferrari, which I think is 4th currently in the GTS class. But we saw last time out Johnny O'Connell being chased by the 88 Ferrari. This week it's the 81 that's behind him, and he's got Jan Magnussen right on his tail. And we know that Ferrari is ultra quick, handles beautifully well. ProDrive have turned them out to be incredible projectiles. But we saw Johnny O'Connell make that Corvette very wide indeed, and not quite to tight the circuit. There's a couple more options of getting past as Jan Magnussen closes so quickly there. We look back from the Corvette at the almost shark-like Ferrari. So he just closes up there, and the split second between braking and accelerating, and he's going to do the same again now. And Jan Magnussen is really going to start piling on the pressure. There is not that much time left in this race, and Jan Magnussen will be doing everything he can to bring home the win for Ferrari. As in the pits now, we have 2 racer groups, Porsche, that are changing over. Kurt Wagner has been in for fuel and currently in 3rd place in the GT class, as we're back on board the battle. As Jan Magnussen goes very close to passing, but Johnny O'Connell slammed the door there and is having to be so defensive. As we see Emmanuel Naspetti now getting out of the way. He's 4th in the same class. They're on board inside the Raffinelli Olive Garden 550 Ferrari that they've done so much work on, with the Elan power plant behind that. And these two putting a lap on him. Johnny O'Connell, though, just trying to hang on till that checkered flag falls and grants him the win. Would be the 2nd one in the row. Flashes his headlights at the 360 to get that out of the way, and he carves through. He can't afford any time at all. But meanwhile, Jan Magnussen is having the same chance to get through the traffic, and it's going to be a real fight to the line for these two. And Johnny O'Connell just being reeled in, under braking a little bit more than from Jan Magnussen, who I think is just saving himself up, ready for a charge. The tyres on the Corvette didn't last as well last time, and I think that's the case this time as well, that the Ferrari has just got a little bit better grip, and he's right up with him as he go into the first turn again, back on the rear of that Corvette looking at the Ferrari, and he is just saving himself up. And Jan Magnussen, I'm convinced he's going to have a real lunge very shortly. He is just trying to wear down Johnny O'Connell, trying to push him into a mistake, and Johnny O'Connell is not having any of it. but is having to keep his eyes firmly fixed on that bright red image in his mirrors. Very close to him again this time. Doesn't try to do it, just slips back inside, goes very tight, very hugging the curb there, and just trying to keep the speed up all the time, and has a little look there, but knew it wasn't going to happen. O'Connell slammed the door on that, and Jan Magnussen is just going to keep doing this now and hoping that he can make it stick or force O'Connell into a mistake. Just left it very late on the brakes, and this is fabulous racing here at the American Le Mans Series. And the Corvette team and the Ferrari team in the pit lane will have very little fingernails left at all. This is a neck-and-neck battle, and it's going to go all the way to the line. And at the moment, the Corvette is going to take its second consecutive GTS win. Just got it a little bit wide there, and really having to use all the track, having to block the Ferrari. But now we've got the 675 car who's come into the fray, and he's going to want the way through as well. Second in the race, leading, the 675 class. He might choose to stay out of the way, as we've almost forgotten about our race leader, as JJ Leto comes up and over the top and through the start-finish line and continues on his way. But this is where the battle is, so that Andy Wallace has a look at the Ferrari, and intensely watching the monitors is the Ferrari team. David Brabham watching his car as he comes along the pit straight, and he's going to go through this time. He's just dived through, and that surely has changed the result of this race as we go on board inside the 3-car. The ProDrive team are absolutely, understandably delighted, but can Johnny O'Connell come back? He's really, really tight there and closing on the back of Jan Magnussen, and they are on the last lap. And this is going to be a sensational win for the Ferrari if they can keep it. And Johnny O'Connell doesn't look like he can close on the back of that Ferrari enough. And the 675 car has been caught up now with the Audi, but they're on different laps. So I think those two realise what's going on. They're going to stay out of the way. Johnny O'Connell hasn't given up yet. He's staying on the back of that Ferrari and looking for a way past. Jan Magnussen, though, is in front now and just has to keep it there. On board with Johnny O'Connell. No way he was going to do it there, and just hoping that Jan Magnussen does something and gets this wrong. But the former Formula One driver is not going to do that at all. He is too clever and too keen for this victory, and is just keeping ahead of the Corvette. And the Corvettes will be bitterly disappointed to have seen that position change. Absolute sheer delight on the faces of the Care Racing team when they saw that manoeuvre happen, and they're going to be absolutely ecstatic if the result stays the way it is now. We are in the dying minutes of this race, because hurtling up towards the checkered flag is JJ Leto in the customer champion Audi, who goes through and takes the checkered flag to take their second victory. So delight all over the pit wall, because the champion Audi has done it, and now the Care Racing Ferrari 550 has done it as well and goes through to take the checkered flag. An absolute delight on the pit wall from David Brabham and the hard-working team that have tried so hard to get this victory. And delighted is an understatement.
What a fantastic race. The whole battle with the Corvettes is so much fun, and you know, they put up a great fight. And you know, today's ProDrive's day, Care Racing, Michelin, I mean everyone. I mean, Jan did a fantastic job in the end, never gave up. Brilliant move into turn one. So yeah, we're really, obviously we can see we're really wrapped.
The second win for the champion team, with second overall, and the 675 winners Andy Wallace and Chris Dyson putting in an excellent drive. Jan Magnussen, David Brabham, the GTS victors, and for the first time since 2001, no Alex Joe Porsche on the podium. This time it's the 31 car that gets the honours.
Johnny was really strong in the beginning and was just able to, you know, we were so close with each other, you know, Joe's car and our car, and there was such a little difference, but then they had a problem and we just cruised around. So, you know, when I jumped in the car, I just had to keep up some sort of pace and just try to keep out of trouble. That was the biggest thing. I didn't have to push at all. So it was nice, but it was kind of easy.
A good points boost for the champion team, but it's still the #1 crew that lead. Chris Dyson still has the lead in the 675s, while the Corvette still dominates the GTS class, and the Alex Joe Porsche still dominate the GT class. The second visit to California for the 7th round in Laguna Seca will be sure to provide some more spectacular racing, and the championship points begin to run out, and the fight is on to claim them.
Here we go.